alone on your journey. Listen in to the Unshakeable Living Show, Supernaturally and Divinely Unshakable with Lysa Beltz. Twice a month for your well-deserved dose of positive energy and your personal reminder that you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Find your true calling and influence the world around you for the better with your profound gifts. Walk away feeling truly unshakable. Remember, God can't steer a parked car, so step on the gas now with Lysa and let him do the rest. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Lysa Beltz, and this is the Unshakeable Living Show. And I am really excited tonight because I have my very first guest on my show, Melissa Walsh. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here tonight. I'm super jazzed. So Melissa is several different things. And so the first segment of the show tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Melissa's journey. But as we get into it, if you want to know more about her, Melissa's website is melissawalshhealing.com. You're on Facebook, Instagram, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
That's enough. That's a really good start. So Melissa does different things. And again, she'll talk about that a little bit once we get going here. But just want to welcome everybody. And just looking ahead really quickly to my next show, Kristen Oakley is going to be my guest in 2 weeks. And we're going to talk about unshakable identity. And tonight, Melissa's going to share her unshakable journey. And then we're going to talk about unshakable intentions. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you're at.
Sure. Tonight will be in a nutshell because it's fascinating how the journey is filled with so many synchronicities, so many experiences that lead to the next thing. But initially, my background is in medicine as a physician assistant. I've been in a few different areas in that realm, from family practice, rheumatology, the study of autoimmune diseases, and functional medicine, and more in that holistic setting. So it's evolved, but when it comes to the divine or spiritual gifts that I didn't really know I had for most of my life until I was in PA school, I always knew I had a great gut. And my mom always said, you follow your gut. Your gut will never lead you astray. And so I just knew that. And I knew I had a good gut. Yeah. I knew things sometimes. I saw things in dreams. My mom told me this story when I was 3 years old. We went to drop cookies off at a nursing home. And I left her side and I went around and touched the hand of all of the people in this circle.
That's pretty amazing.
And when she told me that, I'm like, I don't remember that, but there's a part of me that's like, yeah, of course that's a thing.
Yeah.
But really, what 3-year-old does that, So I didn't know I was any different or that I had a thing until I was really facing a situation in PA school where, I was assigned to do a clinical rotation in a half sex offender prison, half psychiatric ward.
Oh, wow.
That had children and adults. And I was assigned to the children's ward. And I started feeling a lot of dark energy.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And I was like, holy cow, what's happening to me? They're going to send me to crazy town. If I tell them that I'm sensing things. And I didn't know that was a thing because at the time I didn't know anything about energy. You didn't have
words to describe it. There's no association.
No.
Yeah.
All I knew at the time is I'm probably stressed out, anxious, homesick. And now I'm in this place and feeling a lot of yuck.
That's pretty intense.
And I'm like, holy cow, what is this? Because you don't read that in the medical textbook.
Yeah, really.
And so luckily though, I feel like it was divine intervention that led me to my next rotation the following month, which was a very holistic practice who had people there that actually worked there that understood what was happening and understood me and started helping me connect the dots for what I thought was I must be cursed or something because it felt so yuck. That actually this is going to be one of your greatest gifts when you learn how to work with it.
Yep.
Now I'll admit, like, I tried to shove that away for a long time because that's not traditional, right? Like, that's not what I thought I signed up for.
Yep.
And just like really is like, no, I'm not telling anyone about that. Like, this
It's
is
an
just
added bonus.
Yeah. They don't know, like, I feel like a medicine woman with like crystals and oils and all these things that are like helping me behind the scenes. And anyways, so I had my first spiritual teacher that really helped me learn how to work with energy at the time. And, you know, because now I'm around all sick people and like I'm starting to feel everything and it's exhausting me. And, you know, but I got to a time when I was working more in a hospital clinic where things really started opening up again, and I could see.
Okay, what do you mean by opening up?
So I could see beyond the physical exam.
Okay.
Like it's like I was being shown. I'm very visual, and I just see things in like my inner senses. I could see what was wrong with the person, but it wasn't the setting for me to be able to speak about it.
Okay.
And so I just tried to ignore that. But I started feeling more and more kind of guilty that all I had was a prescription pad, a few wise words.
Maybe a little frustration in there.
In me.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
And so, but here I am trying to just ignore that. This is where I'm supposed to be. I have a good job. I make good money, and you just need to like put your head down and, you know, be grateful for what you have.
Appreciate,
you know? And so, but the more and more I did that, the more and more I became stressed out, not present at home. My body starts talking to me like, you know, I have the headaches, the back pain, the achy neck, the can't sleep, the mind's busy, you know, all the things that I feel like probably, you know, most people can relate to, but just try to accept that this is the way it is and deal with it. Whereas, and I was trying to do that.
You're trying to do the right thing.
Yes, I was trying to do that. And I put all this work into, this is exactly what I've always wanted to do. And then one day I was in my office and like, I just felt off. Like I couldn't type what I was thinking in my mind.
Okay.
My vision starts to kind of go in and out and blurry. And I'm like, gosh, I'm not feeling too well. So I told my assistant at the time, I'm like, I'm going to go lay down for a second. Let me know when my patient is ready. And when he came in, I couldn't talk. I couldn't move to unlock my phone he was going to call my husband. I didn't know what my key code was. The doctor comes in and he's like, what's my name? And I'm like, and so they're like, take her to the ER. Maybe she's having a stroke. It wasn't a stroke. It was really what happened was my nervous system was no longer in fight or flight and just like keep it going. It went into freeze. And it was the stress. It was the resistance of like trying to make myself be in a place that the divine was really pulling me out of.
Yeah.
And I was trying to say like, no, I went to school for this long. This is who I am. This is what I do. I have a good job. I make good money. I have good retirement, like all the things. I had $60,000 in student loans to still pay back. Like what else am I going to do? I can't just read this.
Be responsible. Do the responsible thing. Yeah.
But then I'm like, all right. So after I went back to my office, you know, a period of time went by, but I remember sitting there thinking, I can't be here for another 30 years. Like, I can't do this until retirement, but then what am I going to do? Right. But it was my wake up call. And I feel like that's like what happens to get our attention. Something happens to get our attention, whether it's like something traumatic, it's an accident, it's an illness, it's something.
Okay.
When you're in massive resistance, like I was for making a change. That I knew deep in my heart I desired, but I had no idea how it could work.
What did the fear feel like in that setting?
The fear of making the change.
Well, so I guess one, there's fear of the realization of I'm supposed to make a change, and then the resisting the change.
You know, I don't think at the time I think the fear was manifesting in my physical body.
Okay.
As anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
as stress of, I'm worried about where am I going to make the money that I need to make with this much debt, with my student loans, and then just the regular household
Mm-hmm.
bills that you
Mm-hmm.
need to pay. And
Mm-hmm.
those tend to go up the more money you're making.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just every day somebody just finds a 6-figure job.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, how am I going to like pay everything?
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like more of my inner fears were manifesting in my body physically.
Okay.
From the headaches, the neck pain, the tension. Oh, I need a massage. Does anyone have ibuprofen? And
got it.
It got to the point where,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
it froze. And that was my
Yep.
wake up call.
So what were you, can you describe steps that you followed through this period?
Yeah.
You know, if anybody listening is going, yeah, I relate to that. Now what do I do?
Totally. So what I did know at the time is, all right, I can see that this is not going to be the place for me for much longer.
Yeah.
And I could see a change had to be made. And I knew that I needed to move towards something, like
Mm-hmm.
lean into something that was calling
that
me.
Makes sense.
But I had no idea, you guys, I had no idea what it was going to be. And so I said yes to it.
Mm-hmm.
It being whatever I was going to be moving towards, and letting go of having to know the how. Then the second thing was, it carried a feel.
Okay.
So it was going to be peace to me,
Mm-hmm.
because at the time I did
you
not
were not
feel
in peace.
Mm-hmm. And peace to me just means more flow. It means not stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean just like sitting and meditating on a nice beach. Okay. Like that wasn't my, like what I mean by peace. It just meant like I wasn't stressed out. It meant I could be involved with my family.
Mm-hmm.
It meant I could sleep at night.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what peace would be. And so I was like, I have to align with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I held the intention of peace. So before I would go into my office, I'd sit in my car. You guys don't joke, I did this. I would sit in my car and I would imagine what my day would feel like to me if it was peaceful, which means not crazy, right? And I didn't use the affirmation, I am peace, because
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work. If I did that, it'd be like, oh yeah, right. You know what your day is going to look like? You remember what happened yesterday? Like
mm-hmm.
all of that. And so instead I said to myself, how would you feel if you were at peace? And that allowed me in my imagination to tap into a sensation.
Okay.
And I didn't have so many of those other extra thoughts coming in and be like, no, you know why you're not at peace? And telling me that. So I could access a feeling which came from inside of myself to then be able to find it in the day.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like the sore thumb thing. Like when you focus on your sore thumb, like that's all you feel.
More. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like that. And so using certain words, but to then access the feeling of the word within myself and then going about my day. And what happened is I started noticing that my like situations or my experiences throughout my day weren't crazy. I would even like find a pen. This sounds so silly and so easy, but it's powerful. I had a pen that I loved to write with. And back then, drug rep pens was like the thing.
Yes.
They don't give them anymore, but they had really good pens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a favorite pen and I would write with that and I'd really feel into the ink. And I'm like, man, that ink feels so good. Like it's so smooth. Yes, Jinx.
Yep.
It's so smooth. And so there's my sensation, right? Like I'm finding these sensations that are connecting me with the feeling, and the feeling comes from within me.
Awesome.
And then I started getting more of that in my life. But you guys, the weird thing is, is my days at work started to feel peaceful. And then I'm like, well, then why would I leave? Like, I'm feeling good now. Why would I leave? And when that happens, that doesn't mean that you're stuck. Yeah. It means you're closer to being really out. You're closer to your change.
Okay.
Because you're now aligning with what's been pulling you.
Yeah.
And you're moving toward that thing versus feeling like you have to quit your job, run away, and then you get in another situation that's exactly the same.
Okay, we're going to pause and take a break. So hold that thought. And when we come back, we're going to take what Melissa has shared about her journey and move into a little bit of how you can set an intention. So we will be right back. And welcome back. This is Lysa Belts with the Unshakeable Living Show and my guest, Melissa Walsh. So glad to have you here. And again, we're just going to remind people, if you would tell us again your website and Facebook and Instagram.
Yes. So my website is melissawalshhealing.com. And then you can find me on Facebook at Melissa Walsh Healing, or my personal page, Melissa Walsh. Instagram is integrative healer _ Melissa Walsh.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, we've been talking about Melissa's journey. I was talking about the journey to becoming. That was the original working title of my book, Becoming Unshakeable. But your journey to becoming, you were talking about, your transition from being a PA, traditional medicine, and kind of getting into what you were really called to do in life. Yes. And so we're going to talk just a little bit about intentions.
Okay. All right. So if you have been joining us, what had happened, just to give you a little insight, is as I'm holding this intention of the word peace and my days are going much better, and I knew I was closer to whatever was calling me, I ended up doing two things. One, I moved to a holistic clinic where I could integrate all of me. And I started my own business doing personal growth and spiritual mentoring work. So I could use my voice in a way that was pulling me, that I couldn't in the setting that I was in.
So I'm going to pause you for just a second. Talk a little bit about using your voice. I mean, that's a whole conversation by itself, but give us just, again, a nutshell of what that looks like for you.
Yeah. And, by using my voice, I would, how can I say this? In the clinic, I could see beyond the physical exam, and I only had a prescription pad to offer. There were conversations that I knew needed to be had to facilitate the healing of the person in front of me that I couldn't have. And so I felt like my voice was stifled, that I could see and I knew something that could be helpful, but I couldn't share it with them.
Got it.
So I was like, well, by doing my own thing, I don't have any stipulations. I could be free to speak in the way that I'm guided to speak and heal in the way that I'm being guided for the person in front of me.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so tie that back to your piece.
Yeah. So, as I was moving out of the clinic, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, now I was out of that clinic. I'm in a more holistic setting. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And which was really awesome at the time. But you guys know, you kind of make one up level, right? You make a big
Mario
change.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Ching.
Yeah. You jump up on that little brick and you're like, yes, this is awesome. And everything's great for a while until you're at the next.
You plateau.
Yep. And it's time for the next one, right? So this gets a little, as you know, this is a thing. It gets a little easier when you know it's a thing, but it still can feel really, really crummy sometimes. But holding the intentions has always been my go-to, holding a word. So then I'll think to myself, okay, what does your heart desire now, Melissa? And I got to the point where it was freedom. I was like,
that's a powerful word.
Freedom. So remember, it was peace.
Yeah.
And I was made that transition. And now it was freedom. So that was my 2020 word.
Okay.
Was freedom.
And so freedom can mean a lot of different things. What did freedom mean for you in that context?
In that context, it meant like not feeling tied down to having to do or be anything. So at the time, I'm tied to a job that I have to go to that's pulling me away from my kids, who I really desire to be home with them more and present with them. I have 2 little kids, ages 6 and 9, and that's what my heart desired. But here we are, like, I have to do this thing, and it was like pulling my energy out. So what that looked like to me was, on the days I'd go to work, I was like,
Yeah.
And then the days I was home enjoying time with my kids, I seemed like happy and more uplifted. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign, like pay attention to that something's out of alignment. And so because I felt like I had to do something that just was pulling me out of alignment, I was like, I wish I had freedom in that. I wish I had financial freedom, so I didn't feel like I even had to like go, to work. I wish I had freedom to just do and say and make all the choices in my life that I want without anyone telling me what to do or what I had to do. It was just, that's
and somebody just go, yeah, that'd be really nice, but that's never going to happen.
Right.
But it can happen.
Right.
Because you've proven it.
Yes. So I was like, okay, here we go. I could see we're at like the next change level. I was like, so freedom's your word. And when you hold a word in intention, be prepared. Not everything that you like or want comes your way right at first, because we have either a program or just layers we need to shed that's holding us back from that.
Can we even step back maybe a couple of steps and even talk about the basics of setting an intention? What does that mean? How do you pick a word? How do you know? I have lots of intentions I want to set. How do I pick one?
Right, exactly. So what I like to do is I just feel into myself and ask the question, like, what do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? And think of an emotion word. Okay. Not what do you want, because we want lots of things in this physical world, but how do you want to feel? And that's a really great catch-all. So for you, it might be love. It might be freedom. It might be peace. It might be
satisfaction.
That's
one of mine.
Yeah. So it could
be
fulfilled. Yes. So when you hold that though, and you really connect, like I said earlier about the peace, like you sit just for a couple moments, it could be in your car, it could be at a stoplight, and you're like, how would I feel if I was satisfied? How would my body feel if I was fulfilled? And a lot of times you'll feel like this kind of like relaxation sense come over you, or you just have a sense that yes, that's it. And that's how I felt with the word freedom.
So again, if our listeners wanted to go do some reading or some research, is there anything on your website as far as resources?
No, not specifically intention. On this topic.
Okay. Where would we start?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Okay, and that's fine. Yeah. Well, and that's fine. I didn't cue that up very well. We'll prepare that one better next time. But I think
this is a great start in just asking your heart, how do you want to feel? And
you say heart, I would say spirit.
So
again, different words, same meaning.
Right.
I'm going to ask my spirit. So for me, our soul is our mind, will, and emotion. It's my spirit that I want to connect to. It's like, what does my spirit want? Just different word.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So ask that inner space of yours.
Yep.
What would you like to feel?
Okay.
And I think with the words examples that we just gave, if you kind of like take yourself through like a list, even like in your mind, just think about each word. One is going to have a feel behind it that you're like, wouldn't that be nice?
Okay. we are out of time, which is just so sad because
be
there's so much
continued
to be.
someday.
Yes. We'll just have to have Melissa come back maybe in March or April. We'll continue this. So quickly, Melissa, tell us who is your ideal client? If people wanted to reach out for you, what services do you offer? We got about 30 seconds.
Okay, so I have a variety of things. We do women's retreats, we do one-on-one healing sessions, we do some group healing work. But really, for those of you who are ready to step into your authentic self, but feel like there's some blocks keeping you from really finding that passion in your life and for the work that you do.
All right. Thank you so much. And again, melissawalshhealing.com. There is links to it out on the Transformation Talk Radio page for this show. And thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and come back in 2 weeks when Kristen Oakley will be my guest. And we're going to talk about unshakable identity. Have a great evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. See you next time.
You've been listening to the Unshakeable Living Show, Supernaturally and Divinely Unshakable with Lysa Beltz. Tune in twice a month for your well-deserved dose of positive energy and your personal reminder that you are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. Find your true calling and influence the world around you for the better with your profound gifts. Walk away feeling truly unshakable. Remember, God can't steer a parked car, so step on the gas now with Lysa and let Him do the rest.